Hey friends, looking forward to see what happens next in our story and how Jack gets out of the giant's mouth. Chapter 14. Oh, fantastic, Jack said, backing away from the eye despite his close proximity to the throat. The eye stood up and took a step forward, toward Jack. Is there a problem? You really think I don't recognize that? Jack said, pointing at the man's chest. From underneath the hood, Jack could make out the man's wry grin. So you've heard of us, the man said. Still, you have nothing to fear. I'm a knight, nothing more. You're no knight, Jack said, his eyes narrowing in disgust. You're one of them. You're an eye. That's not exactly... The man started, then sighed. This is hardly the time for explanations. You're not safe here. Jack glared at him. That's the first intelligent thing you've said. He glanced around, looking for something to use against the eye. Was it too much to ask for a toothpick or something? You're looking for a weapon? The man gestured toward the light. Here, take mine. Jack glanced quickly at the light, then stopped and stared. A long, thin piece of glass pierced the giant's mouth in the corner. Inside the glass swirled a white liquid that gave off an eerie glow, the source of the light. On top of the glass was a hilt, off of which hung a dark blue scabbard. Jack's throat went dry. The light, it was the eye's sword. If anything was more feared than an eye, it was the eye's weapon, the source of the knight's power, cursed to destroy anyone who touched it other than the knight himself. Jack tried to say something, but the words wouldn't come out. My sword, the knight said simply, as if introducing Jack to it. Now, do you truly think I wish you harm? I had ample opportunity to strike you down in the dark. Maybe you couldn't see, Jack said, his eyes still on the sword. Maybe I could, the knight said. Jack shivered. I'm not touching an eye's sword, he said. Those things are evil and cursed and evil. The man shook his head. No, they are not. They are tools, nothing more. They destroy anyone who touched them, Jack said, staring at the sword. A convenient story to keep thieves at bay, the man admitted, but a story is all it is. Jack turned back to the man. Okay, fine. I'll take your sword, and then I'll have all the power or whatever. He took a step towards it, then turned to look at the eye again. You're just going to let me take it? The knight's only response was a smile. Creepy. Jack sloshed carefully over to the glowing sword. I still don't trust you, he said. You will. Jack stopped. What's that supposed to mean? But the knight went silent, only watching him. Jack kept his eyes fixed on the man while carefully reaching a hand out toward the sword. It won't hurt you, the knight said, making Jack jump. Could you be quiet, please? Jack said. I'm nervous enough as it is. When the man didn't respond, Jack reached out again for the sword. He flinched as his fingers moved closer, but the liquid within the crystal clear sword just swirled around and around, not reacting to him at all. Just to test it, Jack barely brushed the tip of his index finger against the hilt, then yanked his hand back. Nothing happened. The knight didn't say anything, but Jack imagined him laughing anyway. His anger growing at this entire situation, Jack gritted his teeth, then reached out and grabbed the sword. His hand didn't burn off, his whole body didn't turn to dust, and he wasn't transformed into a frog. In fact, the hilt was even cool to the touch, despite the sword's glow. Jack took the scabbard of the hilt and slung it over his shoulder, while he considered his next step. You'll need to pull it out, the knight said. I thought you were being quiet, Jack said, and yanked on the sword. It didn't move. He yanked again and again, but the weapon didn't budge. Was I not clear on the pulling part? The knight asked. Jack just growled in frustration. This time he grabbed the sword with both hands and pulled on it as hard as he could. The sword suddenly pulled loose, and Jack's effort threw him backward toward the giant's throat. He stumbled toward the knight, but the man made no move to grab him. At the last moment, Jack managed to grab a fold in the giant's cheek, stopping his momentum just enough for him to recover his balance, less than a foot from the edge of the throat. When he could breathe again, Jack looked at the knight incredulously. Thanks for the help there, he shouted, his heart almost bursting through his chest. I told you, the knight said, I can't. Jack nodded bitterly. That's about what I expect from one of you. The knight tilted his head. I bear you no ill will, Jack, remember that. Oh, really, Jack said, holding up the sword. Well, I bear you plenty of ill will, buddy. And what makes you think I won't attack you with your own sword? The smile reappeared, but this time it seemed sad. It wouldn't be the first time. Jack just stared at the knight. No one likes cryptic people, he said. Finally, either way, I'm leaving and you're staying. I don't know how you got trapped in here, but the more I think about it, the more I think you and the giant deserve each other. The knight tilted his head again. As you wish. Jack aimed the sword at the knight and slowly walked toward the front of the giant's mouth. The knight didn't move, which helped Jack's confidence a bit, so he sloshed his way over to the giant's teeth, only stopping when the knight spoke. "I'll see you soon, Jack," the eye said softly. Jack glared at him for a minute, then shook his head. You better hope not, he said, trying to sound dangerous, but failing miserably. Giving up on winning that fight, Jack instead flipped the sword around in his hand to hold it with the point facing downward. Then he stabbed the sword right into the giant's tongue, probably the most sensitive part of the giant's entire body. Immediately, the giant sucked in an enormous breath, sending Jack flying off his feet and into the giant's throat. He had just enough time to thrust the sword back in its scabbard and throw that over his shoulder before the airflow reversed, and the giant let out a bellow of pain louder than anything Jack had heard in his entire life. The force of the scream sent Jack flying past the knight and straight out of the giant's gaping mouth. The knight, however, never moved. As powerful as the giant's scream was, it didn't even ruffle the man's cloak. "Yes," the knight said as the giant's scream died down, "I'll see you soon." And then the eye disappeared into thin air. Wow, so that's one way to get out of a giant's mouth. Who do you think the knight is, and when do you think he'll show up in the story again? We'll have to see what happens in chapter 15. Bye, guys.